Everybody, and happy breakthrough week. This is week 1 of 5. I'm so glad that you're on this journey with us. And we start today. We start with session one. This is breakthrough part one, session one. And if you're with Keller Williams, you almost certainly have a chance to join the flow of breakthrough part two. So I want you to know right off the bat that this is a whole system, this educational piece that you'll be on a journey with us for the next 5 weeks is really the foundational element. And we're going to talk this evening about what that's going to look like. So, this is an introductory session. This is also our database session. We will talk about the very greatest asset that you hold in your real estate business, that is your database. So, I would, as always, love for you to have a chance to say who you are. So, in fact, I forgot to update my name. You're going to see my name change in the chat box. It's going to say Seth Mills, Dallas, Texas, because that's where I'm from. I actually am seated in, well, I'm standing technically in Wiley, Texas, which is just northeast of Dallas. But I'd love for you to update your name with where you are located, or you can simply drop it in the chat. You've got a really cool opportunity here over the next 5 weeks to develop relationships with agents all across the country. And if y'all are like me, you're looking constantly for ways that you can increase your dollar per hour earnings. And one of the best ways you can do that is to earn agent or to earn referral income. So you can, if you create a partner in Chicago, Illinois, and you know somebody that is moving to Chicago, Illinois, how cool would it be to set them up with a listing or a buyer opportunity? You get paid in reverse. Love it. Thank you, Tina in Venice. So I was in Venice Beach just about a month and a half ago. I love that place. With all the hurricanes over the past couple of years, I'm not teaching you anything, but I'm going to tell somebody else something. It's torn up the seafloor and it's created all sorts of seashells on the shore that I've been going to that beach. My grandparents live in Punta Gorda, and I've been going there for a long time. You can find these shark teeth that are really cool and like fossilized shark teeth. And there are so many people out there hunting for them. Pretty neat. Carrie, I'm not sure how often you go to the beach there, but I'd be there all the time if it were me. Vic from Massachusetts. Perry from Reston. Is that Reston, California? Cynthia, north of Boston. I'm not sure. Is that Dracut? Valerie in Maryland. We've got Hannah in Louisiana. Carlisle, Winchester, Virginia, Wendy in Baltimore. Thank you. We've got so many of the rest of you. Look, if you are engaging this evening, you bring your voice to the place, and you're like Gia Lewis from Greenville, North Carolina, or like Ryan Smith from Brighton, Michigan. When everybody sees your face and hears the brilliant things that you might have to share, they're going to see where you're from as well, and they might want to be in relationship with you. So make friends in the chat. Maybe you are really impacted by somebody that speaks this evening. Feel free, reach out. We like to know each other. That said, I've got a couple more people coming in. We're going to jump right in. We've got a whole bunch of content to go through this evening. If you don't have access to the materials, would you drop it in the chat? I'm sure I can find the materials for you and share it. And yet you do have in the email that you receive for your registration, you've got access to the materials. The workbook for this course is excellent. And there's a lot of work. This is intended to be very engaging, very hands-on. It's skill development. It's meant to help you overcome some things that might be locking up your mindset. Don't have access to the materials. Let me do this then. I know I do. And I should be able to post a link to the materials as I have them. Give me just a moment, folks, as I pull this up. I've got participant guides. Let's see if I can copy and paste between there we go, iPad to Mac. You got the link there. That's all the participant guides. That's for part one and part two. You'll find part one, session one is this session here. And some of it you're going to have a chance to go through today. Some of it you're going to want to do on your own time or overnight. You might be inspired to do things more deeply. I encourage you, what you put into this is what you get out of this. And how you participate in here is how you participate everywhere. You are staking a claim to the way that you operate as a professional. And so I know that I'm speaking to some agents that have long been in the business, and you know this already. And this might be your chance to double down and engage in a way that you never have before. And maybe I'm speaking to some brand new agents, or maybe somebody that just transferred from dual career into real estate full time. And you're figuring out who you're going to be as a real estate professional. This course over the next 5 weeks is your chance to establish that. So, do you take work seriously? Do you spend all the time that you can to move your business forward? Now, so often you'll attend a class, you're like, well, okay, I'll get to that later. And yet, if you look at your calendar, later is really busy. And when you're in that room right then, right in the moment, when you're most inspired and most informed and you're motivated, you may not want to do it, but motivation is the same thing as motion. It's literally the same root word. And so when you take an action, you look down, you realize you're the kind of person that's motivated to do this because you've literally done it. So if you've never done it before, maybe that baby step that you push it forward with is all the motivation you need to do it a second, a third time. Maybe you develop a habit through this. As we go through part one, we'll talk about skills you're developing. We'll talk about the time that you're blocking onto your calendar. We'll talk about the habits that you're creating. And then you're invited to participate in a 120-day journey. We don't do this in this room for 120 days, but I want you to know the system that you're encountering is built to be a 120-day system. So we'll get to that here in just a moment. Tonight is just a night. We've got 2 hours and we've already spent 9 of them. So I'll introduce myself real quickly. My name is Seth Mills. I am in Dallas, Texas. Dallas Preston Road is the office that I work with directly. I started there as a rookie agent. I started doing tech training when KW Command first came out, and I earned a really cool opportunity to work as a team leader at a kind of a relaunch of an office. I did that for a couple of years as the market shifted. It was very difficult. It was not my highest and best skills put forward. And so we brought those people back home to the office I started with, and I took a role because the team leader job was already filled with somebody that's really good at it. Some of y'all know Teresa Flood, one of my mentors and the team leader of our office. So I took a role as productivity coach and realized within a couple months, this is the most fun that I've had doing anything professionally. I spent a long time in retail. I was an appraiser for a couple of years, and you'll get to hear some stories about these things a bit briefly over the next 2 nights. But I love what I do. I work with rookie agents largely, but those also looking to relaunch. So breakthrough is so much of the relationship that I have with agents on a day-to-day basis. It is such a cool system that we put together. The curriculum is great, and I'm pretty passionate about this as a program. We've got about 150 agents we work with. They did about $1.5 million in GCI last year. I am still a real estate agent. I will likely be a realtor till the day that I die. I have no reason to give up my membership or my license. My wife has taken over the production role as far as working face to face with clients. And it's awesome. She's so much better at that job than I ever was. And she took a neighborhood business that I started building with door knocking and open houses and prospecting and all the difficult things that nobody really wants to do. I thrived in because, like, you mean I can develop relationships like on a whim? Some of y'all are very much not like me. Maybe you're like Superman and you recharge in like the Fortress of Solitude, or what I think of the icy cave of isolation. Like, I don't know why anybody wants to go hang out at the North Pole in a cave of ice. I don't know. But I know that my wife, who is so dang good at this job, she's so good at follow up. She loves people and she just kind of likes them. She loves people. She wants to have the very best interactions with them because her social battery drains as she's interacting with people. You and I might have a pointless conversation. I feel like it went great and it might not go anywhere. So we're all wired differently, and finding what works for you is so critically important. You're going to hear about social media in session 5. That's 4 weeks from now. And this will be a really cool session for you if you want to develop a business where people just call you or reach out and say, hey, you don't know me, but I've been following you for a while and I'd like you to sell my house. And that's basically the business that she's built. She'll sell about 25 million in real estate this year, about 50 homes roughly. And we dominate. She's got 35-40% market share in our neighborhood here in Inspiration. I'm standing this evening as we are meeting. I've done a lot with Keller Williams International. I was on the International ALC for a couple of years, labs advisor for a long time in helping the development of their technology, and KW approved instructor. So this is Keller Williams University material, and been on a journey. You'll have a chance to leave me a review, and I would be so grateful if you have a 5-star review for me. If this has been impactful for you tonight, when we throw that QR code up later, would love for you to tell us. Before we do, I'd love to hear from you, not from everybody necessarily, but I want to hear, what does breakthrough mean for you? You came in here, and I'm not sure if you were aware you're committing to a 5-week process. Some of you have already decided to commit to a 120-day process, which is far beyond that 5 weeks. But you're doing something big, or at least like you've taken time off work, or you've put the kids in the hands of somebody else to put your focus solely on this. Some of y'all are on the West Coast, and you've had to really rearrange your day to do this in the middle of the afternoon. Um, Tell me, what are you looking to encounter, and what's breakthrough mean to you?
Hi, this is Carlisle Swafford. I think for me, it's building a foundation with something that I could work from. I've got property management experience. I have no real estate per se experience for residential homes. And, my intention is to learn how to properly set my business up to be successful.
I love Carlisle. You are speaking to so much of the core of this program. So it's not just a breakthrough, but you're looking to break into a different segment of the industry. And what you recognize, and it's so funny because I don't know if it's funny, but it is an ironic alignment. Property management is so heavily based off systematic approaches. There's no profit in property management unless you can do things in a systematized manner. So I love it. We're a company of models and systems. And some of y'all are familiar with the idea of moving from entrepreneurial into purposeful. And the concept is this: we have a certain ceiling of achievement, each and every one of us. And depending on what kind of skills that we have, that ceiling of achievement might be really high, and it might be a long way before we hit it. And we feel like, okay, now things have cooled down, all good. I'm going to go back to work. I'm going to drive. And then we get busy serving our clients. And then we close up that business and we get back to the bottom. We're like, oh, I've got nobody to work with. No big deal. I know how to do this. And we go find more people. And we're on this roller coaster: generate business, close business, generate, close. And in order to find a breakthrough, we got to get past that initial ceiling of achievement. And Carlisle, you're probably suited to have a much higher ceiling of achievement than a lot, which is great until you crash on the other side, because that's a long way down back to nothing after you've been on that high in the first place. The way that we break through is we implement leverage through models and systems, and that creates a new platform that we can jump from and crash right through that ceiling. So good. Thank you for sharing. Vicky, I see you've got something to share. I see your mic. Maybe that's an accidental unmute. All good. Who else would like to share?
I'd like
What
to
is,
share.
yeah, please, Maya.
Hi, I'm Maya. I'm from Maryland. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for a very, very long time. I wanted to get into real estate in order to have a little bit more flexibility for a schedule and also be able to retire and still have some what I would call residual income or get paid while I'm sleeping, kind of. And at first, I started off, it's been about 2 years, and I thought it was going to be this not easy, but I worked my sphere, or at least I thought, and it was slow for me. And then all of a sudden, I had this burst of energy and I sold my first house. After I sold my first house, which was literally last Monday, I guess I just was like, oh, okay, here we go. So now I'm hungry. Now I'm like, okay, now I get it. I want to see, like, really, really delve into and force myself to see what I can accomplish, because now I've gotten a taste of it and I think it's pretty awesome.
You got a taste and you want more. Maya, do you believe in abundance? Do you
Yes,
subscribe to that idea? Here's how I define
yes.
abundance: where there is some, there is more. And it's any of it. Unfortunately, that means to the negative as well. If we find despair and we focus on it, we're probably going to find more despair. But if you find clients and you find business and you find hope for a brighter future, you focus on that and you'll find more of it. I'm so excited for that. You're going to encounter the idea of consistency and developing habits, which the consistent development of skills and habits is what will drive that regular success. That will allow you to find more and more and more. I
Hmm.
love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Congratulations on your first closing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Curtis, I see you, sir.
Yes, sir. So I at first when I thought about breakthrough, I thought about, getting out of the cycle of suck. But my business has started to grow and I have learned that I'm trying to take emotion out of my business. So I know I have to start putting systems into my business. And it's systems is a unique term because if I don't do the system, it can be the perfect system in the world, but if I'm not doing it, it doesn't work. S-
Mm.
So I try to get on like this to, go through breakthrough and kind of get an idea of where, what out of here. I might not use this to a T, but if I can find something that works in my business to help build a system so I can keep on elevating forward.
Man, thank you for sharing that so much. It's the systematized actions. I look at it this way. It's funny when in a business sense, people talk about leverage. They're like, well, there's leverage through tools and there's leverage through technology and there's leverage through people. There's leverage through models and it's all these different ways. And the whole idea is I can pull this lever and something bigger happens on the other end. So I can implement technology and my business can scale faster. I can hire someone and they go do more work so I can focus on what matters most. In my opinion, and the more I test this, the more it is true. Leverage all comes down to systems and models. And a system is what I do, and a model is how I do it. So if I implement new technology, that's a different business model. It's a different organizational. Like it used to be, I did these things, and now I do these things with the assistance of AI. A different system is a different order of doing things. So I used to do these things, and then I attended a class and I realized I was missing 3 steps. So now I do these 7 things instead of these 4 things. That's an upgrade to the system. Now, if that system I do it repeatedly, I'll find success, and eventually I'll develop it so much that I can't handle it all myself. So I've got to change my model. I've got to implement other streamlined things that will streamline my efforts so I can focus on the things that matter most to me and then offload the things that don't matter most. So, Curtis, I love it. If you're looking for systems, I think this is practically so simply. A system is a checklist. I can write it out from A to Z. If we look at getting things done and managing our time, for instance, there's a system and there's a model. The system is my priority stack. I can prioritize and I can schedule. And by scheduling and like one thing comes before another. Prioritize, that's one, it's singular. There's only one thing before all the other things. And then I figure out what's the next thing before all the other things. So scheduling, that's the system. I'm going to do these things in this order with this kind of priority. And then the model is okay, here's how I'm going to accomplish it. I'm going to use time as a tool to accomplish these things. And so I say this 30 minutes is for this thing, and then this 15 minutes is for this thing. And actually, all the white space is going to be filled with this most important thing because I can never get enough of this. So I'm going to do it all the time that I have extra time. So love it. I'm kind of monologuing at this point, but Curtis, you kind of lit me up. I appreciate that. I've got some more in the chat. Hannah says that she's worked as a TC listing manager assistant for 4 years. You're doing everything from A to Z, not just you. Or maybe that's E to W. Maybe it's just because the eighth, I don't know. I read it that way. You want a more flexible schedule, be more present, real estate become a passion. That's so cool. I love it. Amy wants to get better organized since moving over from Sotheby's. So there are so many companies that sell a whole bunch of real estate and it seems almost by accident, but I know it's through a whole lot of hard work. But what is cool about KW is it's that entrepreneurial to purposeful. So if you were working with a company achieving really great sales, how much better would that be? And I guess that's, I'm sure, why you made the move. We've got systems and models to equip you with. Callan's a new
Yeah.
agent. Oh, go right ahead, Amy. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Amy. I'm with Keller Williams Island Life in Venice, Florida. I've been doing it for 8 years, and I was with Sotheby's for 4.5 years. And they had more of a structure model, so now I have to rebuild my own model to make my business more successful. I also like the more open avenues that we can go instead of being structured to one thing with KW.
Yeah. I love the idea that you're pursuing freedom. It's also freedom to have a bigger profit margin because if you
Yes,
generate the
correct.
deals, you can control how much your profit margin is. You don't have to pay somebody else for all the stuff that they did.
Yeah, one of my colleagues actually came over and she was with Sotheby's for 11 years, same office. And that was one of the things that drove me too. She said the structure and capping and so forth is different financials.
So good. Well, thank you for sharing that so much. I think that your experience can relate to some rookie agents that are in the room as well. Uh,
I also did property management. So when I transitioned from the medical field, I did property management for 3.5 years and I was managing about 80 to 85 properties. So it became very
wow.
stressful and
Yeah.
doing sales. So,
Incredible. Well, we often choose a new path because we're looking for freedom, freedom to do our own thing, freedom of time, freedom of enjoyment, freedom of travel, freedom of relationships, freedom of finance. Like there's all these different things. They generally chunk up into 4 different kinds of freedom. I won't go quite there, but here's the problem with it is that we also have the freedom to experience none of that. We have the freedom to do nothing productive, which kind of creates this cage that we live in. Whereas if we want to experience all the freedom, it is about creating stability with the things that we can manage to create freedom in all these other things. And if I'm speaking to somebody here, if you've switched over from some type of job, which many of us went from some type of W-2 into real estate, experiencing the freedom of time and without systematizing the things that we do will actually reduce the freedom that you have in all these other areas. So, Amy, I love it. We've got a lot of smart people to learn from that have done a lot of great things, proven systems and models.
yes, thank you.
You're so welcome. Callan's a new agent about to start in August. So good. Way to start right here, doing everything you can to prepare. And Valerie says, switched agencies over to KW, back to real estate after 2 years working full time in different business. Mix your passion. Oh, you missed your passion for real estate, back and ready to go. That's so cool. Look, this job is difficult if nobody's ever told you. And for those who have been producing for a while and are looking to relaunch or find that breakthrough moment, it's often because this job is difficult. And like we wear 2 hats. We are the CEO of our business, and so we build the systems and models. We develop the schedule, but then we need salespeople to show up and go do the work. Well, as a salesperson, I care about when I get up in the morning. I care about how I prepare myself. I care about like arriving for somebody's scheduled time. I care about when I go on appointments. I care about the rejection. I care about the things I'm bored about. And the CEO version of us says it doesn't really matter. You got to do it anyway. It's difficult, but find that passion, find the greater reason you're doing this, the good you want to create in the world or for somebody else. Or if you're trying to create a big life for your family, is it convincing enough what you're pursuing that you're willing to knock down all the walls in between? Valerie's also a brand new agent, being a sponge, all the knowledge, ready to learn. You're from Nashville, Music City, such a cool town. Amazing, such a great community. That's really awesome. Hannah's got the similar plan, loves the environment. It does. We're going to be talking today about support from your network and how that can help you break through all sorts of things that we feel like we are not capable of encountering, of facing, of pressing through. Sometimes the support of another can give us even just that little bit of momentum. Danielle's brand new as well. I'm not sure you're trying to learn. You're going to be learning. There's no question about that. If you're on tonight, so good. Arissa moved over from Sotheby's, like the freedom, embrace all the KW systems. So good. Thank you all for sharing so much. I really appreciate it. From the curriculum standpoint, when we talk about breakthrough, we're talking about a significant discovery or a major advance. A significant discovery or a major advance. This would be something that is moved forward. We'll talk a little bit about the difference between doing something and taking action. In fact, I'll just mention it right now. Like the root word of action, the core of it, ag, is the original root word where this word initially came from, and ag is to drive forward. And it was used, like think agriculture. It was used if you're going to move a herd of sheep forward, you don't drive all of the sheep forward. You find the one that you got to pay attention to, and you drive that one forward, and the rest of them follow. I don't know who's watching Dutton Ranch right now, or if you watched Yellowstone before that, but like I see this in real time, and they've got some really cool, picturesque, cinematic scenes where they're driving the cattle herd, and they don't drive all of them. And also, when one goes off in a direction, they can't leave it behind. And so that one, it might be the weakest one of the entire herd, but that gets all the attention. I want you to think about your business in that way. Uh, there are actions that nothing else matters in that moment. It's that one thing. And yesterday it didn't matter, but today it does. Today it's the only thing. And there are other actions that you realize, hey, this thing is what everything else follows. So let me go do this one thing, and everything else is going to move forward because of it. Action or activity, again, the core of it is driving it forward. To build a thriving business, you need a steady stream of buyers and sellers to get your business in motion. We can inspire you this evening. I cannot motivate you. Only you can motivate yourself. And it's just, you got to take a decision to move it forward. So take a moment on page 11 to write what a breakthrough is to you. And then once you have, turn to page 13 and your career breakthrough. I'd like to hear from a couple of you. What are you looking to accomplish over the next year? Because this only goes 120 days out. But if you had 3 cycles of 120 days, and it was all worth the pursuit and the hard work, what is it that is worth pursuit of? What are you looking to accomplish that's worthy of putting out a year in front of you?
So I think I'm a little different than most people who come into real estate. I actually started out as an investor. I had 25 closings of my own one year. And someone said, I don't understand why you're paying somebody else to do this. So that's how that initially happened.
Good.
But what really drove it home for me was when my son was looking to buy his first home. And I'm looking at it, and we've got all of these empty nesters downsizing with lots of cash. And then you have these new kids out of college, still have all these student loans and what have you. And I'm like, this is hard. This is really hard. So I kind of put a process in place and helped them out, and then worked with some of his friends and that. But now I want to really focus on, all right, no, how do I actually make this a business? How do I make this my life? Like a year from now, how can I say this is what I do and this is all I do? Like, this is my focus. I want
Well, that's
to
what
find
I'm
the
asking
best
you.
systems.
So what's that look
Yeah.
like, Cynthia?
I don't know. I know what I want the results to be.
Okay.
I know that I want my focus to be as a buyer agent.
Okay.
I have that investor piece, right? So you get some passive income and things like that.
Yep.
And that was supposed to be my big plan for retirement. But that's a whole different animal. Thinking, how much do you really want to do that? This is just, real estate is, to me, over all of the years, is just a feel good. No matter how you do it, whether you're feeling good because you just sold somebody's house while they've been sweating it out, or you closed on a buyer who's about to change their life. And so that's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
How I get there is a whole nother story, because it's a little different. I'm not looking for sellers, I'm looking for buyers, but you've got to weed out the actual buyers, because even those who you make sure they're financially stable, they've got to be emotionally stable. Because
Yeah.
I've worked with plenty of folks that I got them situated with their finances as step one, but then they panic. But again, it was a really, really tough market. Not that it's much better now, but we had a few years there that people were just walking in with cash, and these kids were being, just pushed to the side.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
why.
so hoping to be inspired by you guys.
Good. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Cynthia. Nearly 40% of homeowners right now own their home outright. We're at a record high of equity that homeowners have. And it's not the same for everybody because out here we've had a ton of new construction and it's continued. Like we were way behind in Dallas because we're growing. Like within, I don't know, the next 5 years, we'll have 10 million people in this metro area, which is huge. Dallas has never been like that's massive for us. And it's this epicenter. People are coming from everywhere. We have a lot of new construction and we have people that come here and it's kind of transient and now they got to go elsewhere, but they bought a new build and they've got builders competing against their trying to go and sell and their home is worth significantly less than it was before. So whereas one person may own their home outright and they can price it anywhere they need to sell, somebody else is like, I can't afford to bring $80,000 to the table. So we very recently had somebody that was 120 grand upside down. If we include the fees that they would have to pay to hire a professional to sell their home, and they were moving out of country, and they said, "Well, no, we're going back home. So I'd love to hire you for the job, but we don't have the money. Even if we did, we don't really have the interest in spending that much on a home that." And I'm sorry, but we're just going to call the bank tomorrow and ask them to kindly come get their house. That's it. They walked away. So it's interesting. Your experience, part of Breakthrough Part Two is becoming a market expert. And look at those balloons, studying the market every single day. And when we do that, we understand the story for our market in particular. Because you're right, it can be different for everybody. It can be different for every location. Sometimes you have it at county level, but then at the city or the zip code or the neighborhood level, it's a very different thing. So really good. And you mentioned something. You know what it looks like. And so for all of you thinking about this, I want you to think a year ahead and think, what does it look like? We've got an activity we're going to do together here in just a moment for all those that choose to participate. And it's going to engage the visual centers of your brain. About 2/3 of your brain, roughly 65% of your brain, is engineered for vision, which means that when we learn, our brains are optimized to learn through our visual sensors. So now if somebody's like, no, I'm a kinesthetic learner or I'm an auditory learner. I get it. We all have preferences. I totally understand that. And regardless of how you prefer to learn, your brain tells you that you learn best through vision. And so we're going to teach ourselves these things. Look, if you want to have a captivating goal in the future, find a way to see it. That's why vision boards, I thought they were so bogus. I still almost kind of feel like I don't know. I have a hard time like doing the scrapbook clippings, but it works. It so works. Like I see people create these dream futures for themselves because they focus on these things and they find all these little tiny decisions to make those things come true. And I'm not talking about The Secret. I'm talking about just choosing what you want your life to look like and then doing the things to make it happen. And so, whatever it is that you're pursuing a year from now, find a way to see it. If you say you want to travel more, where are you traveling? Okay. If I want to travel to the Amalfi Coast in Italy, what's the beach look like? Okay. The beach is rocky and the water is like crystal clear. And so I'm going to think about the contrast of that crystal clear blue or the blue in the distance all the way to the crystal clear, and I can see the gray rocks beneath the feet. Like, can I see it? Because when I see it, I make it real and it's a lot more captivating. You want to spend more time with your kids and go to more soccer games than you could right now? Great. Where are you going to sit? What kind of chair are you going to sit in? What's that grass look like beneath you? Are your kids off to the left or the right scoring the goals as they do? Find ways to envision these things because it will motivate you when you don't feel motivated. Anybody else like to share? What are you pursuing? What do you want your life and business to look like a year from now?
Mine's actually pretty similar to Cynthia's. um, me and my husband, we have 3 investment properties. We're renovating and living in the third one right now. And it's really just been after talking with my friends, talking with, the people of just, a few years younger than me and how impossible they think home ownership is and how the whole system's against me, might as well not even try. And it's really possible. And kind of, we've just talked with so many people and given out so many books about house hacking and things of that nature that it's really something I want to do full time. The house renovation sure does feel like it's taking full time work, anyways. But yeah, I've been really excited to dive in, and I'm really hoping that the Breakthrough 120 helps with like the path or guidance, because I kind of feel like I'm just diving in, trying to do all the things at once. And I know what I want the business to look like is working primarily with buyers, trying to find creative solutions. I'm kind of in an expensive market, right? It's in Maryland, but right on that DC metro area, and finding homes that can actually be affordable if maybe we get a little creative, like renovate the basement and have a renter in there. Things of that nature, just kind of trying to help people see that homeownership is possible for our generation.
So cool. Thank you for sharing all that. Marguerite, how cool would it be if you had other people doing the renovations for you?
I know.
Right? They just show up at
Yeah.
8 a.m. You're like, okay, bye
Get
guys, I've got an
in.
appointment. And then you come home at like 4 p.m. and you're like, are you about to wrap up? Because I was kind of hoping the house would be quiet this evening. They're like, yeah, we're about to get out of here. Great. Like,
Or not having to project manage it, like our project manager
yes,
actually did his job.
yes. So good. So you might think about setting goals for that.
Yeah.
Does pursuit of your real estate career allow you to afford those kinds of freedoms in your life? Handing off, because I would imagine you can make far higher dollar per hour pursuing real estate sales than you are. Like, I get it. We've redone a lot of our own homes and we feel like we're constantly moving and fixing up a different property or moving from here to there. Um, and even if I'm handy, which I'm handy, but like my highest and best use is not, I don't know, replumbing the sink. It's just not, it never will be because I've got better, bigger things to do. You and I can
Oh
go
yeah.
make 300, 500, $600 an hour if we choose. We got to choose it. So good. Thanks for sharing that. Um, we've heard from a couple of people, and I don't know that this comes up today, but there is a reason that on Wednesday, I'd say Wednesday, Wednesday is day 3 normally when we do this in person. Session 3, which will be week 3 for you, 2 weeks from now, you'll focus on appointments. And during the session, we focus specifically on seller appointments, but you're given material for buyer appointments as well. Can somebody tell me why would we focus on seller appointments and not buyer appointments in this course?
Hi, I'm Michelle. I live in Columbia, Maryland. So I think that you may focus on, and I'm brand new, I just got my license Wednesday. Um,
Congratulations. Welcome to the industry, Michelle.
Thank you. I would think that you would focus on sellers because I don't want to say that they have the most to gain, but um, Marguerite was right. The area that I live in Columbia. It's a high rent district. You sell your home here, and you've lived here. Now you're retiring. You're selling at home. You're gonna take home 6 figures plus. A friend of
Sure.
mine is a broker. He just sold a house for 1.5 million, and the owner was 85 years old.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, yeah, you're gonna focus on that seller because right now in this area, a lot of my parents' friends are they're moving. They're moving to smaller homes.
Mm,
We have a military base right up the street from us, Fort Meade. So they're in and out all the time. So you'll be working with vets and VAs and helping them sell because they're being deployed. So for us in this area, I can see where the seller market is very big. But
mm,
just like when you mentioned the senior population with the homes that are paid for, right now in our market, all of my mother's friends, parents and things, they're selling those houses. So our
yeah.
market may be a little unique in that way, but I think it's the veterans to make it unique and they need to sell their houses quickly because they're being deployed.
Okay, good
So
take on being a market expert because
yeah.
that is not the case for my market, right? But that is a major driver for yours. Michelle, some of these sellers, are they also buyers?
Yes, that's why
Yes.
we
Amy,
in our area, that's why we focus more on listings because the listings are going to bring buyer leads, but also could turn around and give you 2 sales at once. because they're going to
Yes.
buy somewhere else, whether they're downsizing or upsizing. And we have a lot of that here.
Good. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's one of the. Go ahead, Curtis.
can I throw in a caveat that no
Yep.
one ever seems to talk about? When you list a property, you can make money in your sleep.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
a buyer, you're waiting for the buyer to get off the fence. Well, with a listing, even if you're not working on it, someone else is trying to sell it for you.
Right.
Well, and
Absolutely. Carrie?
you can handle a lot more houses for sale than you can buyers.
Yes.
So the
Okay.
more houses you have that you listed, the more
Absolutely.
profits are coming in.
So it's a lot easier to systematize a listing, and it's
Mhm.
easier to build a business model around a listing as well. So I think for these two reasons specifically, one, leverage through people. People would be a business model. If I take a listing, Curtis hinted at it, I can have everybody else try to sell that listing. So it's easier. Working 10 listings at the same time is not that much more difficult than working 5 listings at the same time. Now, working 5 listings is not easy, but I can get from 5 to 10, from 5 to 10 without a whole lot of difficulty. Now, going from 5 buyers to 10 buyers, I might lose my marriage. Okay. At least the first time around, if I can hold it together. Now, you can work 10 buyers, but it is more than double as hard as working with 5 buyers because there's a lot of moving parts. Okay. I would much rather work with buyers. So here's the second reason. Buyers are fun. Buyers, I mean, if you ever wanted to play HGTV, you'll get that with buyers. You don't necessarily get it with sellers. Working with sellers is not like the TV shows say, because nobody wants to sell. People sell because they have to sell. People don't, they sell because they choose to, but most people want to go do something else. In order to do that, they must liquidate their current home, or they've got to relieve the debt load that they've got locked up in their current home in order to go purchase the next one. They sell because they don't want to manage this property when they're going to be across the country. So there's all these other reasons people sell. It's not because they say, "Oh, this is great. I've got all this money tied up in this home. Wouldn't it be fun to just cash it into cash, which depreciates every single day instead of this home people don't do that. But they do pursue buying. But here's the math tells me to pursue listings, because if I want to work with buyers, which I do, one listing properly marketed turns into another listing and 2 buyers. So one lead that I really service well, and I create a portfolio of business that everybody gets to see the marketing, the top-notch marketing that I promote to the entire market, that creates another seller. And then the buyers call the signs, and the buyers come to the open houses. And a lot of times the seller is also a buyer. Buyers don't generally turn into listings, at least not right away, like maybe 10 years down the road. But also the seller that's a buyer is also a seller 10 years down the road. So for those 2 reasons, one, everybody else works to sell your listing. And for 2, listings bring more business. If you want to work more buyers, go work more listings. So anyhow, some of you only want to do buyers. This is not judgment by any
Buyers
means.
are much better, more fun too.
It's so
They're
much
a
more
lot
fun.
happier.
Yeah, they're happy. They're telling a story and we get to be a part of it. And it's so commonly a good phase in their life as
You learn
opposed
a
to
lot of
sellers.
lessons with them too.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So anyhow, I don't mean to stand on a soapbox. This is not, again, not judgment for anybody that wants to work exclusively with buyers. Some of you are suited to do, and maybe you create a partnership and you work great at open houses and you feed listing leads to other agents, and that's awesome. I'm just simply talking business math here. And in many cases, if you want to work more buyers, you can simply work more listings. So I'll invite you to bring yourself on camera if you're not already, because this is fun. And we're going to do this today and tomorrow. I don't know if the rest of the trainers, you're going to hear from trainers all across the nation over the course of this 5 weeks. And this is what we do here together. Hey, Leah, I see you. All right. So here is the goal in Breakthrough 120. You can see on the screen. I'm going to teach you a visual way. My youngest 2 daughters were born with hearing loss, and they've had hearing aids and now cochlear implants, and they hear really well. In fact, my youngest is 10, and she just performed in the 100th percentile in the standardized test in the state for reading and language arts, which has all to do with communication. And like when she was 3 months old, we were just praying that she would be able to mainstream in school. Okay. So don't pity. Like they're doing just fine, really smart kids, but it's because we communicated with them very intentionally when they were young. Now, I don't know a ton of sign language. In fact, half of the sign language I use, I totally make up on the spot. I just wave my hands around and we seem to communicate really well together. It's mostly when they're swimming or when it's bedtime and they've got their devices out. But here's the thing. We're going to learn this together. Put your thumb up like it's a thumbs up. You're going to wiggle it around a little bit. That's the number 10. All right. 10 conversations. And then put your hand up like this. Now, you don't have to wiggle your fingers, but I've got my palm toward me. If you want to face out the other way, that's fine. I've been told that it's this way as well. But this is 5. So 10 conversations, 5 days a week. And then we're going to do 120 days. Okay. Now, some of you will need to seek out accountability locally in order to do this. That's not what this is about. This is about equipping you with the systems and strategies in order to do it. But 120 days, you can put your finger up 1, and then you kind of bring it down, and then you go up 2, 0. And you're doing it so the other person can read. So I'm going from my right to my left. That 120 days in order to get 9. And it's almost like the OK symbol. It's almost like clock it, but it's 9 signed client agreements. All right. You with me? So let's do this together. We're going to take a practice run, and I'm going to invite y'all to take yourselves off mute if you want to participate, and we're going to do it all together here in just a moment. And it's going to sound like a hot mess, and that is okay because we're having fun here. All right. So it's 10 conversations, 5 days a week for 120 days leads to 9 signed client agreements. All right. Y'all ready? Go ahead and bring yourselves off mute. And I'm going to count down from 3, and we're going to do it all together. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. It's 10 real estate conversations, 5 days a week for 120 days. It's to 9 signed client agreements.
Sign
agreement.
Good. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. We like to have fun here. There we go. All right. We're going to keep rolling. I know some of you I muted. I just wanted to conveniently mute everyone. And some of you were like unmuting. I get it. It's okay. Not worried about the interruptions. Okay, so really that's the way it is. This is how it works. We go through these 5 weeks, these sessions. They're designed for 5 days in a row, but many of y'all have obligations and you just can't possibly put forth 5 days in a row. So we're going to do it over 5 weeks. So session 1 is database. Next week is lead follow-up. The week after that is appointments. The week after that is open houses. And after that is social media. We're going to talk today about why specifically these 5. There is a very strong thought process behind these 5, and it is proven strategies. And in fact, as we do this, I just want to have a very quick conversation about this idea of strategies. So often we look to strategies as if it's going to change our entire world. And I want you to think of, I'm not going to draw out a stair step because I've already got a screen share, but I want you to think of this. If you've got 4 stair steps from the bottom to the top, and then imagine there's a 5th stair step on top. We're going to label 4 of them right now. That bottom stair step is mindset. The next stair step is activity. The next stair step after that is skill, and then it's strategy. Now, the 5th one is still blank. The problem is this. We often start with strategy. If I just knew what to do or how to do it, everything would be different. But here's the truth, y'all. Unless we're the kind of person that can do the things that we learned, nothing's going to happen. So we got to start with our mindset because so often we stop ourselves. We wear the burdens of other people's thoughts and opinions. We resist doing something new because we wonder if people are going to judge us. We don't pick up the phone and call or follow up with people because we wonder if we're bothering them, or we fear rejection. No, what if they tell me, no, I won't meet with you? And so we handle that first. And this is the idea of a growth mindset. I'll break it down into 2 ways. In the first, a growth mindset is that you are growing. You must choose that you are going to grow yourself. You are not static, but you are dynamic. And you can encounter new environments that will grow your understanding and your knowledge and your skill and all the rest of that. Secondly, you must choose that you're going to grow the opportunities around you, that you will not allow for your environment to be static as well, that you are the change maker and that you're seeking abundance. You're going to find something good and you're going to go find more of it from the same source. Okay. That growth mindset will allow you to take new activity that you previously had resisted. And that activity needs to be consistent in two ways. One, consistent means I got to do it, which means if I'm going to do it consistently, I need to choose something that I can do consistently. If this week I do this and then next week I do that and I go in all these different directions, I will not ever get predictable results. And I'm probably not going to get scalable results because every time I pick up something new, I'm having to learn it as a rookie all over again. I might have been in business for a very long time and I'm like, oh, well, somebody told me First Help by Owners is where it's at. My neighborhood's not working out for me, so let me go do First Help. And I do it for a couple of weeks. Well, that's not working. Let me go back to my neighborhood. I'm going to send out a mailer this month. Well, that didn't work. Let me go. It becomes a problem. Then we sign up for Zillow, and then we decide that we're going to wait for people to call us. And then we pour into social media, and then we just take a month off. Like, it's got to be consistent. So choose something that you can do today and tomorrow and the next day, and you can give it long enough to provide results because you're probably going to need to do something for about 3 months, if not longer, in order to see consistent results. I mean, the first time I sent out a mailer to my neighborhood, I booked 2 listing appointments. But then I continued to send those mailers out and I got nothing for a very, very long time. I look back and it's actually all the other actions that I took consistently. It was not the mailers. The mailers just kind of triggered the opportunity. But it was about all the doors I knocked, the relationships I developed, social media presence, all of that. Okay. So consistent activity, the back half of that is we got to track what we're doing to know that we've been consistent with it. The only way I get to learn about my conversion rates is that I can see how many times I've done something and I get to affirm that I do it regularly. Once I'm doing my activities, I learn what kind of skills I need for it. And I develop the skill. So developing skill works in 2 ways as well. One, I'm doing the activities, and so I'm deploying skills. Even if I wasn't very good at it, I'm going to get better as I do it. For instance, maybe I have a 1% opportunity or a 1% conversion rate if I, in any given way. Like if I do this 100 times, let me say that differently. If 100 people did this one time, then one of those people would succeed. Well, by committing to that and saying, well, I'm just going to do it, actually, by the time I get to 100 attempts, I probably converted like 8. Because if everybody else is doing it once and I do it 100 times, I'm going to be better than they are. I developed the skill naturally from doing it repeatedly. And then secondly, developing skill. What are you doing to develop your skills? Well, you're here this evening. So like pay attention to the kinds of things that you can develop in and put them into practice. Because if you do not practice the conversations, they will not be skills that you equip yourself with. Like you can carry knowledge and not know how to use it. You can have a tool belt with all the fancy tools like Batman, but unless you've practiced throwing a batarang, it's not going to be very effective. All right. Lastly is strategy. And we covered this before, but it's proven strategy. And proven strategy works in 2 ways. One, what have I done that I've proven success with? Let me enhance that success. Until I've done enough activities and I've developed enough skill, I have no idea what I could be enhancing. I have no clue if I go to Mega Camp, who I should be listening to and adopting best practices. Because I might listen to somebody say, oh, that sounds fun. I want to do that. But it might not have any relevance in my market or what I am doing or what I know how to do well. So if I do things consistently enough, I can find out where I'm winning and then go find ways to enhance that. Secondly, the back half of that proven strategy, other people have done what we've done. And so once we've done it, we look and we say, okay, they've done something really great. Let me take that on. I can customize it later on, but let me go try to run that play and enhance what I'm doing as well. So that's where you can see these things follow through. Proven models and strategies. You're given the strategy. So as tempting as it is to focus on, let me go find that new thing, trust that what you're encountering in this program is the proven strategy that you get to encounter. Okay, now we apply the mindset and you get into activity and you develop skill. Until you're able to implement these things on a consistent weekly basis, I don't know how valuable it's going to be to go and learn from the gurus, find the shortcuts. Like shortcuts only work if you're already moving. So success does leave clues. You'll find a lot of references. In fact, like maybe a third of what I just said comes straight out of Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I don't quote it often. I don't always quote it verbatim because it just becomes part of our language. But the whole idea behind Millionaire Real Estate Agent is that we have people that have done great things and we've studied them, and then we teach others based upon that. And it's cool because we've got profit share in our ecosystem. It actually benefits us all to share our best practices with each other. It's a self-enhancing growth system, which is pretty great. So we've learned that the agents that operate by big models end up growing with scale. The idea of setting a realistic goal is really problematic, because if my goal is to only achieve what I can already see that I'm going to do, at best, I'm going to achieve that. Whereas if I can figure out, okay, what's something that I don't know how to achieve? How can I find somebody that has achieved that? Like, if you're not developing 9 signed client agreements over a 4-month period, I mean, really, you could even look at a 3-month period. But if you've got 90 days of, I'm sorry, if you got 30 days of spin up and then you got 90 days of production, do you know how to take 3 clients each month? And many of you do, and that's awesome. So you're going to be finding ways to make consistency out of it or to enhance your skills. And for a lot of you, you're just like, that's about a $108,000 income right there. Even with conversion rates, even if there's fallout, even if all the people that you meet with don't hire you, even if all the people that hire you don't pen to contract, even if they take 5 contracts before they close or it doesn't ever close, that's still a 6-figure income based upon these things. And the idea is that if we build with big models, then we allow our business to scale with it. One note on this, it is always the x-axis before the y-axis. And we know this from like high school algebra. We solve for the x, so then we can apply it to the y. So I figure out over time, how far must I go? And then based upon that time, how high will I go? All right. So models and actions, we figure out how we're going to do things, and then we do the things and drive it forward. And that's when we get the rewards. That's the height of the entire model. I'd love to hear any takeaways. What do you see in this? What have you experienced? What is something, a big model that you've applied so far? Or maybe there's a big model that you've attempted to apply and you're realizing right now, man, I had it, but I actually never applied the actions the way that they were intended. Or what's something you've been working on? You're really excited to see the outcomes.
All right, so I'll chime in.
Thanks, Curtis.
So, so how you have your activities, skills, and strategies. And for the first year and a half, 2 years, I went ahead and said, I'll skip over the first step and I'll try to make it happen on step 2, 3, and 4. And in the past, I want to say year and a half, I've been focusing on the mindset side. And at first, it was, doing some affirmations and saying, I think I should be this, but then thinking it became into believing it, came into leading by it, came in to having faith by it. And then by having the mindset, then doing the activities, the skills, and the strategies fall into place. So unless you have the mindset, it really doesn't matter any of the others, in my opinion.
Thank you for sharing that, Curtis. I love that. It's an internal to external. Like pretty much everything that we do, any action that we take, it's internal first and then external. It's first creation. I decide I'm going to do it, and then second creation, I do it. Internal to external, I bond with someone, and then that relationship takes us somewhere. I internal to external, I develop trust between me and a potential buyer or seller, and then they choose to hire me. It's always going to be something internal before external. It rarely works the other way around. But I love that hearing how you've decided to become the kind of person that does these things. And it is a decision. It's often a daily decision, continually looking at yourself. Curtis, was there ever a day that you looked in a mirror and told yourself that you were somebody that you didn't see and felt like a liar?
Yeah. Uh, and to be honest for myself, so every morning I get online and I say 3 affirmations, and I've done it 69 days in a row. And literally what I just said was literally, the past 60, when I first started it off, it it's something that I wasn't doing, and then it just, it became natural. I started to believe in it, and then things just kind of just fell into, I'm doing it for myself and I'm affecting other people, which is showing me if you focus on yourself and have the right mindset, then when the opportunities come in front of you, you're taking care of the people, not the situation.
Oh, so good. So good. You're taking care of the people and not the situation. We got to care about ourselves enough to understand that first in order to care about other people. Because otherwise, if I don't care about myself a whole lot, if I don't respect myself, I may not respect the relationship. And then it's only about the money. And I know like we're all here to make a profit, no question. But if we want to make the most profits, we will care about the people and nurture those relationships. And the business comes naturally from them. Awesome.
Yep.
Appreciate you sharing that. I see the question in the chat. I love this question because it tells me that you are really enjoying this conversation this evening. You will be able to access recordings. I think on Fridays, you'll get a link to all the recordings from that week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, we go over the curriculum content. Thursday is a technology session. We look at implementation of the things that you're learning here in the room. So the 80-20 principle allows us, like these things go hand in hand. So if I want to achieve something really big, by the way, if your 1-year goal does not make you uncomfortable, it may not be the appropriate goal. I'm not saying it's a bad goal. And I'm not saying it's not the one that you choose to run after. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you or it, but it may not be the most effective goal in order for you to achieve the greatest results, because the goal that will help you achieve great results is the one that you don't know how to do yet. Because if you knew how to do it, you'd already be doing it. And you might think, well, no, like clearly I know what to do. Well, that's the what. You may have the system, but do you understand how to do it? I'll tell you very simply, for me, my morning routine dictated what I could accomplish during my day. And I kept trying to fix that and I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, well, I know I read the Miracle Morning. I just need to do this, this, and this. Well, okay, until I figured out my bedtime routine and getting to sleep at a decent hour, I had no chance of winning the morning. Absolutely none. Somebody here relates with me. I know you do. You're like, well, I'm just a night owl naturally. Yeah, I get it, because I've been that way as well until I decided to be otherwise. And it wasn't easy, but it was so valuable to switch my my sleep cycles around. It's been so empowering. I knew exactly what I needed to do in the morning, but I didn't understand how to get myself to do it. So I changed the way that I operated, and it wasn't a systems thing. It was an approach. It was the how. It was focusing on the most important things. It was not focusing on the morning routine. It was focusing on the night before. And I realized by focusing on that one small thing, if I can get to bed for me, I figured it was 9 o'clock. Now, it didn't mean I was asleep at 9 o'clock. It meant that I intentionally wound down at 9 o'clock. Somebody here still feels like that's late. Somebody's like 9 o'clock, like the sun's still out. Yeah, I know. That's what drives me nuts about it. That's why like naturally, maybe, I don't know if it's natural or if it's my trained way to be. I would be up till 1 or 2 a.m. That just felt natural. And I love the quietness of the very late hours. Also, I love the quietness of 5 a.m. It's awesome. It's the same quiet, by the way. But I found I can accomplish a lot more in my day when I find the quietness of 5 a.m. instead of 1 a.m. So I focus on the thing that impacts most and I get the best results. So this 80-20 principle is quite old. I think it goes back to the 1400s. And there was a study of the landowners in Italy. They looked out all across the countryside, and there's a man that Vilfredo Pareto, I think is his name, and he determined that 80% of the land was owned by just 1 out of 5 people. 20% of the landowners owned 80% of the land. He's like, this is odd. And he's like, well, maybe this is just us. So we studied Spain and Portugal, and he found the same thing. And he's like, well, if that's the way landowners, he started looking at all these different things about life and business and found that the same pattern arrived over and over and over again. And here's what I'll tell you. They've applied it to modern day business, and they've realized that the same is true for sales organizations, that 20% of the salespeople produce 80% of the sales. And it happens in software sales, and it happens in literally everything. Like, it is true across nearly every industry that 20% of producers produce 80% of the results. Now, if we look at those who hold wealth, what's wild is that those that understand this play it in their favor, and you find a super focused Pareto principle. So wealth holdings in the US now is far more exaggerated than 80-20. But it was 80-20 at one point. And those 20% had access to the wealth, and they found ways to defend it and to gather more. And so it's much more extreme than this, but it's the very few hold the greatest amount. Now, this is not standing in defense of the super wealthy or against the super wealthy. This is not an opinion. This is science. This is simply looking at the way things are. And if there are those that have played this to their advantage, we'd better learn how to play it to our advantage. And I'm not talking about wealth. I'm talking about the time and the effort that we spend. So the time and the effort that you spend throughout your day, 20% of the things that you do will produce 80% of the results. And the problem that we face, because in theory, yeah, I'll get to that. I've got to do the 80% and I'll do the 20% also. The problem is every single day that we work, there is never a day that we finish all the things that we're supposed to do. Like, there's always something undone. You are an entrepreneur, small business owner, which means you have an unending tasks of things that you will never accomplish every single day. Not just Monday, not just Sunday, not because you got lazy and this week didn't produce, so Friday you had some things left over. No, literally every day of your life, you will have things undone. And that's okay, because every day it's a normal thing. But if I know that 20% of the things I do produce 80% of the results, and I'm not going to do everything, can I at least do the 20% that produce 80% of the results? If I'm going to ease off, or if I'm going to hand things to somebody else, or if I'm going to forget to do something, or if I'm going to delay something until tomorrow, man, it better be that huge chunk of things that only provide a small amount of benefit. So when we look at the things that only provide a small amount of benefit, it's some of the things that I see. I'll reiterate, I work with about 150 rookie agents. So I see these patterns repeat themselves over and over and over again. An agent joins, they're like, I'm so excited to build my brand. I'm like, great, what's that mean? Like, well, I'm going to get headshots and I've developed a logo. What do you think of the colors? Like, should I use this font or this font? And who can I get to build my website? And that doesn't produce results. It'll enhance your results, but the results are going to be driven by the small amount of efforts that you put, or a large amount of effort, the efforts you put toward people. Your brand is not building relationships. It's building trust with the public. It's digitizing your reputation. But if you have no reputation, why focus on digitizing it? Go build a reputation, go build relationships, go generate past clients, go get some business under your belt. Because saying I have 3 listings builds a whole lot more trust than saying I have pretty colors that all coordinate and the best font and it's underlined in only the right places. And AI didn't even make it for me. Like, that's nice. And I'm not saying don't do it. We've got a brand expert we work with, Colette Stone. She's awesome. First in the industry, our brokerage group, to have this kind of brand builder in-house. And the work that she does for top producers is great. And it takes a long time for them to really benefit from the brand building journey that she goes on with them. Whereas you can decide to pick up the phone today and call 10 people, have conversations with the 10 people and go book a listing. You can go to social media and have 10 conversations in direct messages and go take a listing today. Like, those efforts directly influence. So let me ask you, of all the things you could do in real estate, because I came really heavy on branding. Like, I love great brands. Seriously, it's one of the first things, and I made a huge mistake. Actually, the brand I built as a rookie, I really don't even use anymore. So I recognize the mistake with myself first. But anyhow, what are the things that we do that produce those big results? I gave you an example, phone calls and direct messages, but what else?
So today, was it yesterday? I met with the education person that I'm going to work with, and she gave me a list of tasks to do. And one of them was to make 10 phone calls a day. So I started making the calls to have real estate conversations. And I realized when I practiced on my daughter, I stumbled over the words. And so everybody was giving me great feedback, which is hilarious because not one of them's a real estate agent. But My daughter wants to buy a home, so I'm using her for practice. But I also ran into a colleague that wants to sell her house, and she wants to sell her house in April. So tomorrow I'll learn how to put her in there's a database that you put notes in. So I'll learn how to do that. And then when I realized all the other things on the list that she gave me, you're right. I'm like doing all these things, making these phone calls, reading this stuff, going back, checking what she said. 80% of that list is still on my to-do list. So I got to go down to the office and meet with those guys tomorrow. So the one thing I'm gonna do is the phone calls every day, and I don't know how to follow up yet, but that's what I want to do. That's gonna start my day.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
next
next week, yeah, and then tomorrow, I'll meet with those guys and find out what else on that list is super important that I need to get done. Because I'm new, so I don't know all the priorities. I just know those phone calls are priorities, so I did those.
It's so funny because they look at all these things that you got to do as a new agent with the office, and they give you that list, and they're like, these are the most important. And you take that, you're like, great, but even that list has only a 20% segment of items that are going to produce the most. So add into your database, really productive thing. Actually, that's technically what this entire session's about, and tomorrow's as well. And the physical act or the literal act of adding somebody to my database is a very low dollar producing activity. It's important, but it's very much 80% activities that produce 20% of the results. But the finding of the person and the having the conversation of the person, the only reason that I get to add them to my database is because I did that first. So that's the stuff. Next week we cover follow-up. And so I think that'll be really applicable to you. I see Arthur is a student of Gary Keller. Gary Keller describes a real estate agent's job in this way. There are 5 items, and it's lead generation, it's lead follow-up, it's go on appointments, which Arthur's written in the chat box, and then it's negotiate contracts and practice and role play. So Michelle, practicing with your daughter is warming you up to be better with every other conversation you have with potential buyers and sellers. And so I can go and speak with 10 people in my but if I practice, like maybe I speak with 10 and I get one opportunity or I get one referral out of 100 people I speak with. But if I practice, maybe I can go get 5 referrals out of that same 100 people. And so I amplify my results. I can spend a little bit of time practicing every day, and it increases my odds of converting everything. Really super scalable results. Negotiate contracts, by the way, that's negotiating your buyer and seller agreements directly with your clients. That's also negotiating contracts on behalf of them. They both totally count and are totally appropriate. So really good point. Lead generation is what we're talking about primarily through Breakthrough because it's the lead. Lead follow-up only matters because I generated the lead. Going on appointments are only possible if I've generated the lead. Negotiating contracts are only possible if you get my point? The only reason we practice is because I've got leads to go generate, to turn into contracts and closings. The reason that we would reinvest money into our business is because it makes it easier or faster or better to generate more leads. It all comes back to lead generation. Now today, this week and next week, we look at 2 major parts of lead generation. And lead generation as a whole also has an 80-20 principle. This one works a little funny because they both got to be done. 20% of your effort, 20% of the results will be generated from actually producing that opportunity, finding the potential buyer or seller, and getting in a relationship with them. The follow-up, the follow-through is 80% of the work you're going to do. And this is news to somebody, but I hope you really understand this. And y'all, this drives me nuts personally because I find follow-up very boring. Like I am so much more excited to meet new people, to find new potential buyers and sellers. But finding new potential buyers and sellers does not put money in the bank. Following up with them until they're ready to transact does. And so the only reason I have a chance to follow up 80% is because I've done the 20% and generated the lead. So I've done the most significant work up front, but it only collects if I do the rest of the work as well. So these 2, this week and next week, lead gen and lead follow-up, they go hand in hand. We got to build a database, but we got to nurture that database. The mistake we see a lot of agents make, for instance, with open houses, is if they're not converting from open houses, they think, well, I just need to go do more open houses and I need to capture more information and I need to go find more potential buyers because all the leads that I got suck. Like nobody's buying. And the first thing I ask about, okay, well, when did you last speak with the buyers or the potential buyers from your last open house? What's your follow-up system for the buyers at the open house? Without a follow-up system, we can generate all sorts of lead at open house, but they're not likely to convert. Now, maybe 1% of the time, I don't know, that's a random number, but maybe 1 out of 100 leads at an open house turns into a buyer right then. Like they want to buy that house. But most of them are not the case. Most of them we got to follow up with. So do the 20% work and then follow through until they're ready to transact. So to sum that up, the mistake we make is thinking more leads will be more business. But if I have a database that doesn't nurture relationships, why in the world am I going to add more people to it? If I don't treat my friends very well, I don't have any business making new friends because I'm not going to treat them very well and I'll just have no friends again. So let me figure out first how to be a really good friend, and then I can go meet people and we'll be friends for a long time. If I want more friends, good, I'll go find more. So that's the way our database works. 80-20 principle. Today we're talking through, we're only covering half of this. Session 1 is create your database, expand your sphere of influence. We're going to talk about the first law of database. Tomorrow we'll talk about the other ones. But before we get into that, we are on page 23. And each session, at least each Tuesday over the next 5 weeks, we're going to talk about fear. And so we start off by defining the difference between rational fear and irrational fear. Rational fear is true. It's based on real circumstances. This is instinctive, and it is it's genetic. It's built in. It's like long in our history, and it's there for really good reasons because in a primal sense, as we were creating societies, there were a lot of threats outside. Like we had to go live or hide in caves because there were big storms outside that if we stayed outside, we would die. Okay. We had shelter so that we could hide from the bears. We developed some type of footwear because if we didn't, we would get infections and die. Like all of this is so that we could stay alive. And we did all these things. Well, the world that we live in is really, really safe. No matter what CNN and Fox News want to tell you, the world we live in is very safe, all things considered. Like the odds of there being a serious threatening occurrence to you compared to the odds of that same threatening occurrence happening to anybody else in history is like really, really crazy low. And I'm not saying there's not danger out there, but I'm saying it's safer, objectively speaking, than it's ever been. So we have less reason to be rationally fearful than we ever have in all of history. But those instincts are still there. The problem is and I know this to be true, somebody else has heard this. And in fact, y'all tell me, when you hear an acronym, somebody's been in a classroom and they told you fear is simply what? F-E-A-R. That's okay. I've heard this in a whole bunch of different areas, and I've heard this from motivational speakers in a couple different ways, but a real common one that I hear is like fear is just false evidence appearing real. So don't let it control you and just move through it. It's false. It's not real. That fear doesn't control you. And that sounds really empowering. And then there's the person in the corner that's like, well, what about my fears? Because they're very real. Like very, very, very real. Even irrational fears. Okay, so in the state of Texas, there are only 3 different types of venomous snakes that I know of. I grew up on the West Coast, up in the mountains. There were a lot of venomous snakes. I had to identify a lot of them. And I engaged with them and I learned them. And I used to gather little garter snakes, my brother and I, and we put them in a bucket, count them. My father had us do this so that we could learn which snakes were okay to touch and which one were no-no noodles. Like some of them you just don't go near. You see them, you respect them, you back away, or you eliminate them as a threat to wherever you are. In Texas, there aren't a whole lot. There is the Western diamondback rattlesnake, there is the cottonmouth, and there is the copperhead. And And that's it. And if I know how to identify those 3 snakes, I don't have a whole lot to worry about, because most of the ones that we see are rat snakes and gopher snakes, and they're racers and they're water snakes. And these are all totally non-venomous. And most of them are so not aggressive. Like, they're friendly if you pick them up. I walked out my garage, the side door one time, and a juvenile rat snake, it was only about this long, dropped on my shoulder. And it just kind of craned its head up and it looked me in the face. And I picked it up and it curled around my hand. And I went to go show it to my family. I got 4 daughters. I went to go show it to my family, and my wife threatened to burn the house down because she has a real fear of snakes. Now, it does not matter that I tell her, well, look at the markings. This is clearly a rat snake. Rat snake? What? Like, no, the rat snakes are good. This is going to grow up, and it protects us from all the venomous ones, because we do have water moccasins and cottonmouths right here in our neighborhood. Like, we've seen them from time to time. But we have more rat snakes. We have less water moccasins and cottonmouths because the rat snakes take them out. They are bigger, they're badder. They are snake eaters, and they are good. They are my friend. Like, I would create a home for a rat snake in my yard if I could. But I can't, because my wife would burn the house down. We'd have to move again. And that's the way a lot of people are. Like, she is so terrified of snakes. If she sees them on the TV, she cannot look. She will literally. We had National Geographic magazine my daughter left open to a page with a snake on it, and she walked in the room and looked at the magazine. She screamed and ran out of the room. And I don't think that she's just playing around. Like, she is terrified of them. If we go to the zoo, she will not even go into the reptile exhibit, because she knows that there are entire racks of snakes in cages in there. It won't go near them. Now, it does not matter that I tell her, look for the hoods. Like, if you can see their eyes from above, that's a safe snake, in Texas at least. If their eyes are hooded and you cannot see their eyes, that's a dangerous snake. Don't go near it. She's like, I don't care. I'm like, look for the Hershey kisses, because that tells you she doesn't care. It doesn't matter. Is it a snake? Don't go near it. I get that. But also, she doesn't have reason to be afraid of it, but it's a real fear. It is a real fear, but it is an irrational fear. It is not rational when she runs away from the tiny ones. There's a rough earth snake my girls pulled out of the dirt. The thing was like 4 inches long. And it didn't matter. When she found out it was not an earthworm, it was a snake, that thing was like, her hand was larger. And it didn't matter. She was still terrified. Look, I get there are things that you're terribly afraid of. I heard from somebody this week that they wouldn't go knock on a door because they were afraid that because of the way they looked, people would react a certain way and it was dangerous for them. And the truth is, the odds of anything violent happening against that person that told me this were so astronomically low. It didn't matter what they looked like. People were not hateful, but in their mind, this is something that was very real to them. And I could tell them all the statistics about how it's irrational. It didn't matter, because it's something that they very much carried. And it dictated other actions that they did. It kept them from having the greatest open houses they could. Now, I'm not saying you got to go knock doors in order to have great open houses. My point is, there are opportunities that she avoided because she was fearful of it. So we're going to learn over the course of this 5 weeks. We're going to look at 5 different strategies in how to handle fears. But on page 23, I'd like you to write down, and maybe you share it in the chat, any of you who are willing to share, and I wouldn't force anybody to do this, but what are some fears that you've encountered in real estate? You're welcome to unmute yourself and share verbally, or you can type it into the chat. What are some things you're encountering?
This is Gia Lewis from Greenville, North Carolina. I guess some of my fears are, I'm coming from the medical field, and I've been practicing for over 20 years. So this is a big change for me. So the fear of the unknown really gets me. But I'm used to lots of processes and documentation. If you didn't write it, it didn't happen. So I'm always looking for something to be pretty much a system. And a lot of this is you have to do it to understand it. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm facing in my years worth of career, I guess you could say, in this field.
Yeah, fear of the unknown, and fear of the unknown and fear of not knowing in some ways are the same, and in some ways are very different. Because what if it works and someone asks me to do this and I don't know what to do? I feel like an imposter and like I'm going to let them down, and maybe something dangerous could happen, and maybe I get sued. If you're used to a lot of documentation, you're used to a very specific way of doing things and specific things you can and cannot say and a way to handle data and all of that. And there are a lot of rules that we abide by. So I
Yeah,
get that. Fear of the unknown and fear of not knowing enough.
you are preaching.
Uh, Danielle and Amy are both afraid of cold calling. I'm curious if y'all would share, what are you afraid of with cold calling? Sarika has the same feeling there. What about cold calling strikes up fear in you? Well, I could just share with you what I hear a lot of other people say, like fear of rejection. Yeah, negative response. What if they tell me no? What if they tell me no and again and again and again? What if, and we look at this in week 3 with appointments, what if it's someone really close to me and I find out they are selling their house and I ask to meet with them and they're like, I know it's my cousin and my cousin tells me, no, I'm going to hire a different agent. Like, how terrifying is that? I'm not going to call my cousin because what if they tell me no? Um, by the way, fear of rejection, when you allow it to control you, you're choosing rejection for yourself because you're choosing the 0 on the scoreboard when there could have been a 1. And the worst case, really, when you get rejected, is that the score is still 0. But it's tough. You got to do the thing that you're afraid of in order to ever overcome it. Curtis is afraid of leverage. The person you hire to help you not have the same standards. Yeah, like I know how to do things and I do things a certain way and nobody can do it as well as I can. And so are my standards going to go down? Is somebody going to get a lesser service? Will my business fall apart because somebody else makes a mistake? I get it. I hear a lot of people. I know a lot of top agents that limit their growth because they have a hard time handing it off to somebody else because of that reason. They're really good. I can tell you the truth of that is when you hand that to somebody else and becomes their job, and that's like one of a handful of things that they do, and you can do all the other things, they figure out ways to do it better than you ever did. There normally is a growth phase, but if you can impart the wisdom that you have and they become a specialist at it, that's really what you're looking for. Danielle got over the fear, but yeah, just something new. Sometimes, yeah, afraid of something new, not knowing what's going to come of it. Fear of not doing well, fear of failure. Yeah, fear of wasting time or fear of not knowing to do with what our time is. All these things. I want you to challenge yourself on the next page, page 25, and categorize these things that you've written down. Are they rational or are they irrational fears? And next week, when you're asked to do the same thing, they're going to nobody's going to force you to share these things. I understand many of these are personal, and you might choose to use this environment to press through some of these things, especially because of the tactic that we're going to talk about here in just a moment. But when you come back next week, you might encounter some of these same things. And you're going to realize you've moved past it. You're going to realize that you've moved certain things from rational fears. You're like, actually, because I thought about this is irrational. It doesn't bother. Maybe it still bothers me a lot, but it's an irrational fear. Like my wife very much understands that her fear of snakes is at an irrational point. She gets it. She's still terrified and she doesn't care what I say about it. Just because we move it from rational to irrational may not change it immediately, but it's a process. Yeah, fear of somebody being rude, like a personal assault. It may not be a physical danger, but maybe it's emotional health that we're trying to protect ourselves from. That's a real thing. Y'all, this is emotionally tasking, this job is. It really is. And your mental health, your emotional health, they matter because as well as you feel, you're going to treat people. And so if you feel better, if you find ways to operate better with better mental health, you're going to develop better relationships. Find ways to keep yourself mentally healthy, emotionally healthy. And facing rejection from people, I can take a task until we learn for ways to compensate or to handle that. Or go ahead, Amy.
Open houses lately. I used to have real success with leads through them in our area. but now people, it's like a fight to get them to sign in or do anything like that. It's like they just come in there, and when you're sitting there and you're not the listing agent, it's kind of a waste of our time, I feel, is where I'm getting the mindset of, because I'm not getting anything from it.
Interesting. Interesting. I'd be curious, especially next week, if you tune into the lead follow-up, I'd be curious to know what the follow-up strategies look like. And it's not just about frequency. Sometimes it's about intensity. Sometimes
Because
it's
I used to
intensity and the
personally
timing.
call them and follow up, and I used to
Mhm.
get a lot better results with that. But I have not had one lead since being over at KW from open houses, where at Sotheby's all the time I had good results. So
How weird.
I'm not sure what we're doing or what's going on, but it's frustrating because time is so valuable right now with the economy that I I'm not going to sit there for nothing and then spend money to make copies and prepare everything.
Hmm. I hear you. Yeah. Fear of wasting time, fear of opportunity cost. What could I be doing instead? Um, yeah, that matters. That really matters. It's funny. Consumers in general are so much more empowered than they ever were. Well, ChatGPT told me there was a big lawsuit in 2024, and the result of it is that I don't have to hire an agent anymore. What? Y'all
Yeah,
have literally
that's
heard this.
affected us majorly.
Yeah, like what? You're getting legal advice from ChatGPT? And I get it. I don't mean to insult you, but if you're getting your legal advice from ChatGPT, call your broker, please. Um, AI is good. I am a super user of AI and I'm a super fan of it. And it's great as a thinking partner. It's terrible at giving like real clear advice that you can just act upon immediately. It doesn't have the context that we do as humans. Anyhow, I
No,
digress.
no.
Um,
It's
yeah.
called go to legal classes or go to legal education.
Yes. Yes. So true. Um, so here's some ways that you might, let me go back to this though. As you categorize them, there's a tactic we'll talk about today. Well, you got a choice. Oh, it's here. I'll get to that in a moment. Let's talk about these three fears real quick. Fear of not knowing enough to run a successful real estate business. Heard a couple of y'all say that. It is important to understand that every agent starts somewhere. And so if you have been an agent for years and you have not yet found success and you wonder, is this ever going to happen for me? Know that virtually everybody that has found success in real estate wondered that about themselves. Again, remember the ceiling of achievement, the valley of despair. And you might take a couple of runs at it. What's going to be different about this run up that you're going to break through that ceiling? Be learning based, ask questions. By the way, ask questions is probably the best advice a salesperson could ever receive. You want to work with sellers in a better way, ask more questions. You want to understand your buyers better and help them into better decisions, ask more questions. You want to develop a better relationship with your spouse, ask more questions. You want to find a spouse, ask more questions with the people you meet and learn about them because they feel interested in. They feel like you're interested in them. When you are interested in people, you become interesting to them. It is totally reciprocal. If you want more people to know you're in real estate and care what you do for a living enough that they would choose to hire you, go ask more people about their lives and they'll naturally ask you in return. Fear of talking to people about real estate. Real estate conversations build. We have something so cool and universal, and it's the fact that everybody has somewhere that they live, and people generally move from one place to another. Not everybody does it all the time, but we have such a universal industry. We connect with people on such really cool aspects of their life for all the reasons that they move. People move when they have a reason to move. So, what are all the reasons? It's big life changes. Family growing, family shrinking, new job, not a job, going from one country to another or state to state, downsizing or upsizing or investing or divesting, all these different things. And the more you practice your skills, the more comfortable you become with your conversations, makes your interactions easier. Not just because you're willing to have those interactions more confidently, but it literally makes the interactions with people easier because you already know you're not stuck in your head, and it's easier for them to speak with you as well. Fear of not knowing what you're supposed to be doing or how to use your time. We talked about this with the 80-20 rule. the easiest thing you could do is list out all the things that you could do and then identify, okay, if I've listed out 20 items, 20% of those 20 items is what, 4 items? So then I just move those 4 items to the side. And if I identify my top 20% out of those 4 items, that's only going to be one thing. I'm only going to do one thing at a time. So I just go do that thing. It's very practical. Utilize tools to keep you organized and accountable. What I just told you about is the success list principle. If you have 100 items, move over the top 20, then move over the top 5, then move over the one that you're going to do right now. Like, just keep moving and chunking down. As complicated as it is, you can make sense of it. And then go and schedule that thing. Remember, scheduling and calendaring, 2 different skills. Let me figure out my priority and then go book time on my calendar to make it happen. And then I just got to live my life. Like I said, I was going to live my life, and that thing naturally happens. But our fears, because we're scared of them, they're uncomfortable, we generally avoid them. And it's totally natural. Again, the fear of a bear, I'm going to avoid the bear. Now, I know you heard me say I'm not afraid of snakes, but I really don't like scorpions. And I really don't like bears. I used to live up in the mountains in California, and the first day we moved in, the next morning I woke up and this bear, it must be like 20 yards behind our house, and he's just roaring his head off. And I'm like, oh man, that bear at some point later on tried to break into our house in the middle of the night. So some fears are real, and we just avoid those things. But most of the fears that we have in real estate are not rational. They're irrational, and it's an us thing. We got to get through it. But here's the problem. As long as you don't separate a fear from who you are, it is of you. It's one thing to have a fear with you. I might carry this fear around but it's a thing. It's separate from me. But the moment I name it and I address it, I can see it and I realize that's not me. That's a thing. And I still have it with me, but it's not got control over me. Over time, I might separate it. It may not be with me at all. But the first step is going to be address that it's a thing, that it's not me. But the more I avoid it, the more it is of me instead. So one of the simplest tactics, and that's what we're doing over this 5 weeks, is to confront the fears, to name them, to realize, hey, that's not who I am. That's just a thing that's influencing me. And one of the ways you can confront your fears is with peer support, seeking outside support. Who around you can help support you? Who's gotten through that before and can help you through that? Like, simply the fact that I'm hosting this training session this evening, this is outside support. The fears that y'all are writing down, those are fears that I very much have in common or had. Now, some of them I've overcome, and I'd like to equip you with strategies, and you're going to hear from other trainers that are going to do the same. This is outside support. You've got somebody else in this room that you'd like to be buddies with, and you can hold each other accountable, and you can call, hey, I didn't see you this week, or I didn't see you today, or hey, how's it going? Or hey, I only feel like I can have this conversation with you. Or, hey, I'm having a hard time doing practice every day. Can we just practice with each other? Or, hey, I know we were both given this assignment. Here's what I did, and here's the outcome, and this is why I don't want to do it again. Can you help me through it? Seek outside support. You've got ALC members and leadership at your office. You've got peer accountability groups. So that's why I had y'all drop your name, your location here. I would love for y'all to know each other. Not necessarily because it's good for me. It's good for y'all. Anything on that? Any other takeaways, comments before we move on? All right. So lead generation model, we'll cover this briefly. Your database is your business, and the lead generation model is how you drive relationships into your database and from your database into business. So prospecting and marketing is 2 sides of lead generation. Prospecting is what I actively do with my time and my energy. Marketing is what I do passively with my money and my influence. So I might exchange influence. Hey, Mr. Restaurant owner, I'd like to put some flyers up in your restaurant for my open house. Would you like to promote your business by doing like a gift card drawing at my open house? So I'm trading influence. That's marketing. Okay. If I run ads on Facebook or Instagram or Google, that's marketing because I'm spending money. So spending money or influence is marketing. The thing is, it's passive. We get into this more deeply later, but we'll end up just skipping past it. Marketing is passive and it's very delayed results, whereas prospecting is very active and it is potentially very immediate results. The reason why so many of us look at marketing instead is because that's the easy button. And we figure I can impact so many people and I'm just going to play the odds. I'm going to go market to 10,000 people. And if 10,000 people see that I'm in real estate, surely somebody's going to call me. But if it's very passive and we have no control over when that happens or how it happens or if it does. Whereas with prospecting, we're spending our time and our energy. That's a finite resource. And it can be uncomfortable to do it. And yet it has the highest likelihood of producing deals, producing opportunity right then. That's how we make friends, by the way. Like I could put a wanted ad out. We don't have newspapers much anymore. I mean, we have newspapers, but not a whole lot of people read them. So it may not be the best way to have a friend, but I could advertise in the paper that I would like to have a friend. Or I could go to spend my time and energy to go meet somebody and develop a friendship. It's the same idea in real estate. It's really no different. Here's the cool thing about prospecting is that time and energy those are finite resources. I do think they're replenishable, by the way. Like I can buy my time back by hiring other people to do stuff. I could buy more time. I can increase my health and I can buy more time on this planet. Now, I don't have infinite time, but you get my point here. My energy I can replenish. If I treat my body better, I can get more done during the day. If I understand how to care for myself, I can put forth more energy and invest it in other people. But here, what's cool about time and energy is that we all have it. We all have the exact same amount of time today. Now, maybe we don't have all the same amount of time on this planet, but today, what we choose to get done, we all have got it. So prospecting, each and every one of us can light it up. Either one of those produces leads. Leads turn into contacts. Lead is somebody that you've got information for, that you've got permission to contact legally, but you may not have a relationship. It's one way. Whereas a contact is going to be two-way communication. A database is the container that you hold your contacts. Your database in Command or whatever CRM you use may also hold your leads. But the idea is that it holds your relationships, which is your contacts. That's two-way communication. You understand each other, at least to a degree. I think there's a major miss on this model. I think there should be a line right below database that says opportunities. So you may want to write a note. But opportunities is key because I cannot convert my database to appointments if I don't first identify potential buyers and sellers. It's the whole idea with lead generation. I got to find the people that have a reason to buy or sell and estimate the amount of time and estimate what they want to do specifically. And I may not be right. I'm going to refine it over time. But when we identify opportunities, we start to treat people like people and business like business. No longer is that a buyer. That is my friend. And I have a buyer opportunity with them. And I can set up different tasks. I can treat all these things differently. If all of the people that I talk to are transactions in my mind, they will feel it. And I probably won't have that same trust bond with them. We hold appointments and we bring value to get people to hire us. That's buyer and seller listing agreements. They choose to work with us and we put them under contract when we close. Your database is your business. Really, if you go to retire from real estate someday, the only thing of value, and maybe it changes in the future, but it hasn't changed at any point in the past. For a real estate business, your business is your database. And it's not only a list of people, their phone numbers, their emails, because I can go to a title company and they can scrape that. I can list off a number of websites that I can go and I can pay for a list of people's phone numbers and emails. The government does not want me to use them. I do not have permission. And even if I had permission, if I don't have a relationship, it means nothing. So a database is where you're going to store those contact records and the context of the relationship. What kind of things have you talked about? What's important to them? What are they looking to accomplish? So any of the relationships that you've had leading up to this point belong in your database. By the way, for rookie agents, their first 2 years, on average, 80% of their business comes from people they knew already when they came into the business. So if you're looking for the magic pill, it is exactly that. It's the people you already know. They will be champions for your business. They want to see you win. They're the people that are by far the most likely to take a risk on somebody new because they like you and they want to see you win. And I get there are the outliers. The people are like, well, no, I know you, so I can't work with you. I get it, but that's like the very small portion. Don't let that fear control all the rest, because widely, it is a very, very common practice for agents to generate the majority of their business with people they already knew. So leads you capture, past clients, referrals. By the way, if you treat people well that you already know, they will introduce you to more people like them. So if you like the people you know, go talk with them a bunch and they'll give you referrals for more people just like it. Go to the places they hang out, the parties, the social groups, connect with them online. And it's not just name, but we will look at, we'll look at a number of things. Actually, we're going to be wrapping this soon. So I'm flipping through to make sure we cover the most important. We got 10 minutes left. But here's, we're going to do some math real quick. Some of y'all have, and we won't go deep into this because Thursday's session is about building your database. So tune in Thursday if you want to understand how to like functionally do it. There's activities in this session that are really meant for you to go and build it. We'll do that together on Thursday. I won't be here, but we've got an instructor that is specifically going to train you on doing this with technology, with spreadsheets, with KW Command and otherwise. So if you calculate the number of contacts in your phone or database, if you don't know how to do that, you can log into Command, and at the bottom of your contacts cards, you can see the number. On your phone, on an iPhone, you can open up, and for me, I go to contacts on my iPhone, and there's the little A to Z on the right-hand side, and I'm going to click the Z or the number sign, and I just scroll to the bottom. And when I get to the bottom, I get a number. Who's willing to share the number? Drop it into the chat or shout it out. $180. Thank you, Valerie. Who else? 5,731. 1,200. 499. Appreciate it, guys. Mine says 27,253. Now, that's way more people than I'm ever going to contact face-to-face, voice-to-voice. I can't manage that many relationships. I just can't possibly. I've been really intentional to build my database, and your database is going to be operated in a way that somebody else in this room isn't going to operate their database. Some of you will choose to focus on, thank you, Crisula and Lisa, $11.99 and $6.86. Some of you will focus on a VIP list of like 100 people. I know agents that do this. They have 50 or 100 people, and they treat those people so well that those people fill their business with everybody that they need. And they hold that 100 accountable. And if they've got people in their world that are not doing business with them or referring them business, they look to replace them with somebody else. This is called top grading. So I'm constantly looking for ways to improve the quality of my database by finding people that are more likely to produce within it. If I'm running a VIP system, that's really important. I take a very different approach. And this is not the only two approaches, but my approach is so our neighborhood is in Wiley, Texas. So everyone within zip code 75098, I would really like to have in my database. Because if I have a new listing, then I can email everybody within the zip code. If somebody expires or is for sale by owner, or if they cancel their listing, no other agent in town may be able to legally call them because they're on the do not call registry. But if they're in my database, I could just pick up the phone and call them. If I want to promote on social media or on Google, I can take a list of everybody in my database and say, hey, here's the people that are already in my world. And these technology systems say, oh, I know exactly who those people are. Let me show your ads to them specifically. My ad cost goes way down. So I would love to have everybody in our town. I'm far from it, but I've got, I think, 47,000 people in my database as a whole. Now, a really solid database is like at the beginnings is going to start somewhere around 150. 201 is a magical number in the technology world because they studied with 201 people in the database with some sort of communication system behind it, produces about 100 I think it's $116,000 in GCI a year at
What
201.
Seth, what
Mhm.
CRM do you use? Or what is your preferred to
Good question. I use
communicate with
Command.
everything? Okay.
I use Command because it's so well-rounded. It has all the capabilities I'd want from anything else.
Okay.
Now there are like fancy tools that other things have, but a lot of those fancy tools they're missing features that are really critical. I will tell you the most critical thing that I see in Command is the fact that it has a database of people and a database of transactions. That's contacts and opportunities. And the fact that they're totally linked is really, really important. And it allows me before I know somebody who's impacted by it, that we treat people like people and we treat business like business, and it helps both of them grow. And so that's what I've used. But I've used Pipedrive. I had a small module built in Salesforce. I've used Brivity. Like I could keep naming a bunch. I don't think there's any secret in the technology. It's in how you use it.
Okay. I
It's
was
which one you
using
show up in.
Follow Up Boss a little
Yeah.
bit too. So
Follow Up Boss is great. It's not fully featured, but it does some things really, really well. Its automated systems are awesome, and it integrates with video really well as well.
yeah, that's I think my favorite thing about it.
Yep.
But that's why I was wondering about Command. If they have the creation to do that, I still have to learn all that.
Yeah, Smart Plans, which I think you'll learn some about I think that's next week. So next Thursday will be a tech class relating to Smart Plans, and I think that could be really helpful for you. But it's the automated communication systems, and in Command, you can cause them to do just about anything that you really want. Again, there are fancier systems, but the fancier systems they don't tend to be as well-rounded as Command.
Yeah, they cost a lot.
Yeah, or they cost a lot. Absolutely. We've got so many agents that use Command. It's built to be so flexible to work in just about any way you'd like it to.
Okay. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for asking. So take your number of contacts, and I want you to multiply it by 6% or times 0.06. And the reason is that 65% of households own their home, and people move every 6 or 7 years on average. And so if we work out the math, any given year, you've got about 6% of your database is going to be moving. Now, a lot of those are sellers and they're buyers. So this is actually probably rounding down. I think the opportunity is far greater, but we'd rather estimate conservatively. So if I have 200 people in my database and 6%, I multiply those out, that's 12. So in theory, if I'm in conversation with all the people on my database properly, and I've got 200 people there, my opportunity in that database is 12 transactions in a year. So I take that 12, and I'm going to drop it down. We're on page 33, by the way. Your expected commission is likely going to be different than anybody else's. I would say compensation, because it may not be a commission percentage that you charge based upon the closed sales price. Maybe you choose to be charged, or you choose to charge per hour or a flat fee for the different services that you provide. A lot of agents choose a percentage of the closed sales price. There's all different sorts of models, but apply your number, whatever you would anticipate. I'm sure you can work that out and multiply it by that 12. And that's the number there. I think the average compensation that I collect in my business we can say we sell all different price points. We've got different percentages, and not always a percentage that we charge for our clients. But I think our average last year was like $14,500. So if I had 12, I'll do the math real quick. If I had 200 people in my database, average of 14,500 times those 12, 174,000. Now that's just an example number. And that's not like, I didn't choose to charge my clients 14,500. That's the result of like all the different things that we've charged our clients. So it's important to understand this. I get this question a lot. Well, what should I charge look, you got to decide that on your own. And that's not just some legal mumbo jumbo. That's not because KW told me that I can't that I got to tell you that commissions aren't set. They're very much not set. And even before the lawsuit settlement in 24, agents charged all sorts of things. There was some misunderstanding that there was something suggested, but agents have charged all sorts of things. And in fact, since the settlement, I know buyer's agents in our area, on average, actually increased what they charged on average. It's crazy. When they started simply explaining what value they provided because they knew they had to explain it to their clients, all of a sudden their clients were willing to pay them more. Imagine that. So I want you to see that because that's a potential gross commission income for each and every one of you. Either that number is going to be greater than you're producing now and worth pursuit, or it's lower than you really need it to be and you got to figure out something different. But you have one of two issues. If that number is higher than you're producing and it's enough for you, then your problem is you can be communicating with the people in your world already better. It's a follow-up problem. It's the 80% problem. If that number is not large enough, then it's because not enough people are in your database yet, and that is a lead generation problem. Now, there's an outlier issue. Maybe the people in your database aren't going to produce, and so it might be the wrong people, and maybe you could recategorize. But again, it's one of two things. Either meet more people or communicate better with the people you already know. And so just understand what that is for you, because that will dictate the actions that you have leading from here. If you hold open houses already and you're not producing the results, the solution is either follow up better with your open house leads or hold more open houses, because open houses still produce. Now, follow it better. That might be more, that might be faster, that might be a different message, that might be giving cakes away to anybody that meets with you. I don't know exactly what that is for you. For a lot of people, it's simply go and meet more. But we do it in these three ways. These are three of the 4 laws of the database. You build your database, and then you feed it, and then you communicate it with it systematically. There's no way to communicate with it unless we continue to feed our database. And it's not just feed it with people, it's also feed it with additional context and information. But first, we got to build it. You build your database. We'll talk quickly through a couple of different ways. And then Thursday, you're going to look at how to literally build and feed your database in a technological sense. But your sphere of influence is the most likely to produce. These are the people you already know. We talked a lot about this. It's the most important group of people. These are your neighbors, your friends, family members, the people you currently work with or worked with in the past. They're most likely to refer you business, to work with you repeatedly. They're the people that a lot of them feel obligated to hire you, even if they don't quite trust in your skill set yet. Use that to your favor. And if you want to honor them, use that as an opportunity to go really skill up so you can give them the highest level service.
So the next classes, the next 5 weeks are all on Tuesday nights, the same time for Eastern Standard?
We have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Eastern Standard is 6 to 8 p.m. I'm in Central Time, so it's 5 to 7. But it is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for this week and then following 4 weeks as well.
Okay. So 3 days a week.
3 days a week.
For 5 weeks. Okay.
Yep. So that's the end of this session here. We're going to resume with session 2, or sorry, with the back half of session 1 tomorrow, and we'll talk about feeding your database and communicating with it. I'm going to encourage you, start thinking about who in your world already do you know that isn't currently in your database, and simply start there. If you take no action yet, but you simply start thinking about and identifying those people, do that. What I think is going to happen is you're going to spend the next 24 or 22 hours thinking about the people that aren't currently in your database that ought to be in your database, and you're going to want to take action. So when you want to, make it easy and at least just go write them down. I carry an iPad with me everywhere I go now because they're digital notes, because I lost 2 really important notebooks in a single year and all of my notes that were within them, and I never want it to happen again. But I got to have handwritten notes. That just works for me. But maybe you take notes on your phone, whatever it is. When you think of that person, write their name down, type their name in, whatever it is, and you can come back to it later. You're going to have some brain jogger activities tomorrow that are going to help you fill your database. We're going to talk about feeding it, but first you got to build it. Who is the core of who belongs in your database first? It's the people you already know. So add your mom, add your spouse, add you. I will tell you this, if you've got nobody in your database today, go add yourself as a contact card with your personal email, not your professional email, because anything you're going to be sending out to buyers and sellers, you ought to be sending them to yourself first. Like if you want to see the consumer perspective from a website, do it with your account so you don't have to send it to a buyer and say, hey, can I sit with you and see what I sent you? No. Also, if you fear sending things to your buyers and sellers because you don't know what it looks like on the other end, think about how easy it is to settle that fear by simply sending it to yourself first and looking at it. Fear busting right here. Y'all, thank you so much. You participated at such a high level. I've got some questions in the chat. This is being recorded. It does. I'm checking to make sure I'm telling the truth on that. I see pause recording and stop recording. I believe, because I'm not the person that does it, but I think on Friday there's an email that goes out with a link to a YouTube series, a YouTube channel that's going to have all these recordings. So I'll be back tomorrow to work the back half of this session. And then Thursday, you'll be able to work some implementation. The training workbook, I'm going to post in the chat right here. Because I don't have everybody's emails, but who is it that asked that? It was Veronica, and it's a couple other people that asked for the training book. You can follow that link to my Google Drive and download it. It's got all of them. Y'all, I thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. I appreciate your participation, your voices, your faces. It's so much better to instruct these courses on Zoom when I can see you face to face. So thank you for the smiles and the laughter and the frowns and the concerned looks. It's all a part of the journey.
Thank you so much.
You're so
It's
welcome.
been awesome. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.